Heartless, Forbidden, Book 1. Written by Suzana Thompson. Narrated by Paulina Schubert.
Chapter 22. The dreamy feeling lingered for a moment after I awoke, but I couldn't hold on to it. I wished that I could meet a real-life Mr. Darcy, someone who had refinement and integrity. Yeah, he was a bit of a snob at first, but he held himself to high standards, and he was honest. Guys like that probably didn't exist anymore. I wondered if I should even bother going on my date with Brandon next weekend. He had seemed like a nice guy, but he was apparently the one who had told Kate about hiring call girls. Kate's dad had put a stop to it, but I wondered if Brandon still frequented prostitutes. According to Kate's story, Brandon's own father had gifted him with a visit from a call girl for his birthday. That was so screwed up, yet Brandon seemed to be friendlier and more polite than Kate. Maybe that was just on the surface, though, because I didn't really know him. Did I even want to get to know him? He had asked me to give him a chance, but I wasn't looking for a serious relationship anyway. I had just thought that he would be a fun date, but I hadn't been planning to go out with him again. He had charmed me into accepting a date with him, and one date was harmless enough, and will corroborate the story I had told Catherine about having a crush on one of Kate's friends. He had also mentioned the date to her, and canceling it would require an explanation. Brandon's fun personality had given me hope that we could become friends. Now I wasn't sure if I even wanted him as a friend if he was that similar to Kate. That brought me back to Kate, and I didn't know how to think of him anymore. I kept remembering how he had spoken of his sister's death. He remained uncharacteristically thoughtful by reminding me that we were going to visit Morgan today. "We can walk there if you want," he suggested. "She lives on the next street over." A walk did actually sound good. Now that I had a car, I was driving everywhere and not getting much exercise. I would be out of shape soon if I didn't start moving more. It was kind of ironic how people got lazy and drove everywhere instead of walking, and then ended up needing to go to the gym. It was a warm, sunny fall day, and I took advantage of it by wearing shorts now that I had them. I paired my new jean shorts with a pretty blue top. Kate's eyes lingered on me, and I felt more self-conscious than I had in my short dress the previous evening. Maybe it was because I had been expecting his attention then. His mind was apparently on that too as we left the house to walk down his long driveway. "You looked hot last night," he told me, "but this look is more you. Fresh and simple," he added almost to himself. It looked like we had matched outfits on purpose, but it was completely coincidental that he was also wearing a dark blue shirt. His was a button-up, and he had paired it with jeans. He looked hot. There was just no way to avoid it with his body and his attractive face. I realized he had noticed my perusal, and I quickly faced forward. "You still look sexy," he said, pulling my gaze back toward him. His gaze was heated, but not lewd, and that troubled me. There was no cocky smirk on his face, only naked desire. "What are you doing?" I questioned him, even as my own desire for him flared. "Why were you hanging out with me when I was playing skee-ball last night? Why were you being so nice to me?" We had both halted as we spoke, but he stepped closer to me. "I picked up the balls for you, because I didn't want you bending over in that short dress," he told me. "Why?" I asked as my pulse sped up from his proximity. "Because," he replied as he stepped even closer, "I don't want other guys looking at you." "Why?" I demanded desperately. "Why are you acting like my boyfriend?" "You're not my boyfriend, Cade." "You've already admitted that you're attracted to me. And I know you wore that dress for me," he said. "Yes," I agreed, "but that's all physical. You've said yourself that it's just sex, so why do you care if other guys look at me?" "I don't like to share," he answered as he leaned in for a kiss. I pulled back before he could close the small distance between us. "That's not true. The call girls you were with had sex with other guys." His eyebrows lifted in bewilderment. "You're not a call girl." "No, but it's the same thing if it's just sex," I reasoned. "Lexi," he admonished in exasperation, "it's not the same thing." "How is it different?" I questioned. "Except for the getting paid part, it's exactly the same." He appeared to be angry all of a sudden. You want me to treat you like a call girl? Okay, come to my room tonight at midnight and take your clothes off. Not gonna happen, I told him in a sassy tone, feeling like I was back on familiar ground with him. He responded with a wry laugh. You just wanted to make me say that so you could say no. I turned away from him and resumed walking. Any girl would say no if you snap your fingers and tell her to take her clothes off. Not a call girl, he replied. That's what you pay her to do. I frowned at the thought of it. That's awful. What's so awful about it? He asked. It would just be so embarrassing, and I shook my head as I tried to think of a word to describe the horrible feeling of stripping yourself naked for a stranger and having to do what he tells you. Horrible, I said. Someone you don't even know making you do who knows what. I shuddered as I imagined it. It wasn't like that, he said. I wasn't ordering them around. They were the ones who knew what they were doing, and I didn't, he admitted. That didn't sound quite as bad, but it was still strange to think of seducing someone I didn't know. Oh, well, it's still so... I grimaced in distaste as I trailed off. What? You think it was horrible for them to have sex with me? He demanded. You didn't have a problem kissing me, and I know you want me, so don't act like you think it was so awful for those call girls when they touched me. It amused me that he had taken offense to my suggestion that sex with him had been a chore for those call girls he had hired. Why else would you need to pay them? I taunted. You don't have to pay people for having fun. I glanced over at him to see him glaring at me, and I smirked at him. It felt great to make a dent in his ego, and it was also a relief to be insulting him instead of wanting to comfort him. I didn't need to be confused about my feelings for him.